Good morning, Collective Movements. How are you guys doing today? Thanks for hanging out with me this Saturday morning. Today we are going to be learning, what are we doing today? I totally had it. Oh, duh, cheat gainers, or moon flips, or kick the moons, or gainers. But not in the sense of like you're doing a backflip and you're traveling forward like a two-footed gainer, like a real gainer, you know? Like this one's not a real gainer. This is a prerequisite to doing your corkscrews, which if you haven't seen, I will leave a link in the description down below if you'd like to check it out. It is this trick, but with a full twist. Anyway, we're not learning corks, so enough of that. We are learning gainers, cheat gainers, kick the moons, moon flips, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. We are learning a weird thing today. Yeah. So to get started, you should learn to do a J step. Oh. I hope you guys could hear that because that was pretty loud. Learn how to do a J step, which I will break down in the tutorial, so let's start there. From there, hopefully you can do a cartwheel, and ideally you should have some type of flip under your belt. So don't start with this one. Doesn't matter if it's a front flip, side flip, back flip, aerial. An aerial would be really nice for this one actually. But if you don't have it, that's okay. You don't really need one. I know plenty of people who can do this skill without having to do an aerial. So the way I like to start is I do my J step and I swing my right leg over my left shoulder. And from there I do a cartwheel. As I start to do my cartwheels, I gradually, okay, so there's two different ways to do this one. But anyway, let me keep going. So I gradually start to touch my hands less and less and less and less to the floor. And then I start to pick it up a little bit higher and a little bit higher and a little bit higher. And then this is the worst advice that I will give ever. It is the only time I will ever give this advice because it's what was told to me and I didn't believe it, but the guy told me to shut up and just try it and to trust him. And I was like, I don't trust you because you're telling me to throw my head back, and that's a bad thing to do because I'm better than throwing my head back. And he was like, just shut up and do it. And I was like, all right, watch, it's not gonna work. And then I threw my head back and I did the skill, of course. Now, I don't really condone this advice for anything else other than this one skill. And even then, I'm not throwing my head back anymore, but it's what got me over that thing. So I started to drive my leg and I whipped my head back, and it helped me get the first idea of how to do this type of flip. That's one way to do it. So you start by doing your J step, kicking your leg as hard as you can, as if there was a soccer ball in front of you. So kick it as hard as you can and start to turn into your cartwheels, and then less and less and less and less until you're just not touching the floor anymore. Now, as you're doing this and you start to swing your leg, you can spot the floor. I don't, but I spot my leg actually coming into my vision of focus, and then I pull into my tuck. So I keep my chin flat, let my leg come through, spot my foot, and then I start to tuck my leg. Now there's a few different styles that I do with this one, and I'll demonstrate all of them, and then I'll break them each down. One of them is a tuck, one of them is not, and one of them kind of lands a little differently for tricking out of it. And I know it was parkour tutorials, but Rudy's a tricker, so he told me to do this one. So I'm doing this one. And he edits my videos. Thank you, Rudy. Anyway, all right, so the second version is to kick your leg and gradually, you're actually never putting your hands down. This is gonna be more along the lines of where you would start to throw your head back for this particular method. So you would swing your leg, and without any inversion at all, where you like, no going over your head yet, you just kind of swing your leg over your knee. No, you don't, that doesn't make any sense. I'll demonstrate it. But you swing your leg over your knee, and then you start to swing it over your hip, and you start to swing it over your belly button, and then you start to swing it over your chest, and then you start to swing it over your shoulder. And this, once you get to your shoulder, is where you would start to throw your head back and whip the flip through. And again, worst advice ever, but it worked for me in particular. And it's only on this one skill that I would ever condone it on. So yeah, don't do that anywhere else, unless if you're intentionally trying to do a whip. It's just such bad advice. honestly, but it worked. So it's how I've taught it since then, and it's been working for my students. So maybe it'll work for you guys too. Please don't judge me too harshly for that. Cool. So let me go and demonstrate all of these for you, and then we'll start to break down the common mistakes. And let me break all these down for you. Let me go put my camera down real quick. All right, let's see if I can keep my head on this whole tutorial, starting once I tighten it, because it is a mess. Look at me, oh my goodness. Cool, should be good. So a J-step, if you don't know what that is, check the link down below, check up top in this corner over here, because I'm gonna be leaving a card and a link in the description down below for you for my core tutorial. It talks all about the J-step in there, and it goes into detail. I'm just gonna do a small little thing for you guys here. So if you want a full thing on how to do a J-step, go check out that tutorial over there. It's gonna be in the link in the description below, and that card's probably already gone now, so if you didn't click on it, it's gone, but it's in the link in the description below. Real quick, J-step, I twist left, so I'm gonna step right, and then this is like my 0, I'm gonna go to 45, and I'm gonna step towards that 45 with my foot pivoted out at like a 90. I'm gonna swing my leg in that 45 direction. And that's pretty much your J-step there. So quick thing, arms back, swing your legs, pretend like there's a string tied from your wrists to your ankle, and swing that leg all the way through. All right, easy J-step tutorial, donezo. The tucked version, and this is where I recommend people starting. In general, if you're not comfortable landing on one foot, all of the same drills, I'll let you pick and choose whichever one you wanna have first. But basically you're trying to create some type of shape change here, where you're trying to go from this big open position to a small position. And that's gonna give you that flip. It's gonna help you snap over as you start to get used to it all, okay? So the tucked version. There we go. So that tucked version is why I talk about having a side flip, because literally all I'm doing is I'm swinging, allowing my leg to come up, and just tucking for a side flip. So if you have a side flip, awesome. If not, it's not needed, I promise. This is the cartwheel way, okay? So you're gonna do your J-step, step, arms back, swing. Now as those arms and legs are coming up, I'm still spotting forward. And once I see my foot come into my line of sight, I'm not dropping and looking for my foot comes into my line of sight. Once it comes into my line of sight, I drop back, put my hands on the floor, and I do my cartwheel, okay? So. Now, from there, less and less and less and less and less hand touched on the floor, and then eventually you start to do the whole thing, which will look like this. There we go. Second version is when you start to kick your leg over your knee, and then over your hips, and then over your belly. Now this doesn't necessarily mean like directly over, but what I'm referring to here is how high it's coming. So over your knee, over your hip, over your belly, over your chest, and then over your shoulder, and then each one gradually gets a little bit higher. A little bit. It's gonna go over your knee, over your hip, over your belly button, and so it gradually starts to build and build and build. And at some point, you're like, your head never goes anywhere. And this is why I say you should throw your head back on this particular drill, because your head's not moving on this one. That's why I say you should throw your head back. Once you start to swing and you start to get it above your shoulder, right? And your head whips back, and it's gonna come into a similar result. Looks a little different, okay? This one's a bit flashier depending on how you think of it. But anyway, this is what it's gonna look like. And then the last version that I was talking about is kind of in between. I tuck my right leg and I let my left leg stay open and out the whole time. And this does a few things, okay? So this allows me to hook out of it. Obviously you're here for parkour, not for tricking, but if you happen to be a tricker, welcome. If not, sick. We just like movement, hence the name, collective movements. So I let my left leg stay out and I hook out of it. This is what this looks like. All right, so hopefully you guys can spot the small differences in between there. Basically what that last one does for you is it allows you to swing through for a front swing. So you can swing it into your raise, you can swing it into your Websters. A raise is very common. You can also swing into your Gumbies, which if you don't know what a Gumby is, check the link in the description down below or the card right up there for you. Basically, all of the stuff that I was teaching you is the reason for those common mistakes that we're about to go through. One of the common mistakes is not kicking your leg hard enough. As with any momentum-based trick, the harder you kick your leg, the easier the flip becomes. So if you find that you're having trouble getting your feet back under you, you're probably not swinging your leg hard enough. And if you are swinging your leg hard enough, then there's probably something else there. Like the timing of when you tuck or when you throw your head back. Or when you throw your head back. All of that kind of stems from not spotting your foot before you start to tuck your knees or whipping back. Basically, there's an optimal point inside your jump, right at the very top, where you kind of become light and effortless, where you don't really have much force on you because you're not going up anymore, you're not going down. There's kind of like that stall point, and that stall point is where you want to do all of your flips, not just your cheat gainers, not just your back flips, not just your front flips, but all of them. And you're probably not waiting for that to happen. So make sure you spot directly in front of you and wait for your foot to come into your line of sight before you start to do your flip. The third common mistake is not swinging your arms with your leg. So I will see sometimes people will swing their arms and they throw their head back and then their leg swings through, or vice versa, their leg will swing and then their arms go. They need to be timed. So when I say pretend like your ankle is tied to your wrists by a string, I mean that if one pulls, they both pull. Not one then the other, but they both pull at the same time. And they're both in sync and timed up and lined together. Those three common mistakes are the easiest ways to start fixing your cheat gainers or your kick the moons or your moon flips or your gainers, whatever you want to call them. I don't recommend actually tying a string to your ankles and your wrist. Don't do that. Maybe like your right side if you're a lefty twisty, or if you're a left twister, maybe to your right side you could tie it, but not to both wrists. Honestly, just don't do it. Drills, we already went over the drills, just learn those progressions. Hopefully this helps you guys. If you've enjoyed these tutorials, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. You guys are more than welcome to send us your videos to our Instagram, which is @TheCollectiveMovements. We are happy to help and we want to help. All right, well, thanks for joining us on this Saturday morning, or whenever you decided to watch this video. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Make sure, again, you leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. We will be releasing videos for you guys every Saturday. Take care, guys.